and thanks for joining us today for this really important and valuable training on the next generation credit landscape. Most of you know, and that's probably why you're here, how much of our lives revolve around our credit scores. And our speaker today is extremely knowledgeable on this topic, so you will learn a lot, and we're hoping to have time for Q&A. I am trying to advance this. Okay. So some important reminders before we get started. We don't have a CEU for today, but we will provide you with the recording on Monday via email. We don't share the presentation decks. They are proprietary. Let me just go back to that last one. If you have any technical problems, go to chat at financialsocialwork.com and we will help you with that. Stay tuned after the presentation. We have some add-ons we'd like to share with you and some important discounts you might want to take advantage of. So I'm Rita Wolfson. I am the president and founder of Financial Social Work. Eric is our webmaster and technical support, and he will be with us for this training today. And our wonderful guest speaker is Rod Griffin. He manages consumer education at Experian, so he knows what we need to know, and he will tell you about himself and train you on what's happening with our credit scores. I'd like to begin all of my presentations with our financial social work affirmation. It goes, just for today, I will love myself enough to face my fears, practice self-acceptance, and embrace hope. Silence my inner critic, speak my truth, and make peace with myself and with my past. Just for today, I will give myself permission to eliminate toxic people, beliefs, and behaviors from my life and prepare for a better tomorrow by healing my relationship with my money, with myself today. I'd like to start with some participation. So if you look at what we have here, it's buy now, pay later in numbers. Those of you who joined the various trainings that I present will know my feelings on buy now, pay later, and the challenges and difficulties in using it. And our speaker will be talking on that a little bit later. But what have you experienced personally or professionally around buy now, pay later? You can see here that millions of people are using it, and you can see why. But what do you see from your clients? Are they talking about it? Eric, is anybody putting anything in our question box? Come on, we have a great audience.
If you'd like to participate, share your thoughts, please use the questions box to submit your comments. We can read those out
anonymously. We're not going to share your names. You can see that over a quarter of those who have used it regretted using it.
One comment is, wish they brought back layaway.
Great comment. You're probably closer to my age. I wonder how many people on the call ever used layaway. Yes, I like that.
Another comment, it can be helpful to some clients, but only if they are able to make their payments on time.
Right. And that takes juggling. So you can see 41% of users have struggled to make a repayment. Okay, well, we don't want to spend too long on this since we have so much else to cover. Thank you for sharing with us, everybody, and let's keep going. So let's talk about the journey to financial social work. Often people say, "No, there was such a thing as financial social work." Well, I started creating this almost 30 years ago. And if you look at the timeline, you will see how Jane Addams started all of this and how it progressed into the 60s and 80s. And then you can also see that in 1935, social workers involved in responses to the Great Depression, along both halting the financial hardship and social support, becomes more explicit. And we had that anti-poverty and social justice movements of 1964. We had the emergence of consumer credit, welfare reform debates, and economic dislocation between the 70s and the 80s, and growing economic disparities in the 1980s. In the 1990s, we saw the rise of financial literacy as the US Treasury relaunched national financial literacy initiatives, and social work begins referencing financial capabilities, but not addressing emotional, behavioral, and systemic aspects, which is where financial social work comes in. So in 2002, I founded the Center for Financial Social Work to bridge the gap between money and social work practice. And so the model integrates financial education, behavior change, emotional awareness, and trauma-informed care. During COVID, there was an explosion of interest and need for financial social work. We did a webinar like this at the beginning of COVID, and we had thousands of people register for it. So we have lots of exciting plans for 2025 to 2030. You can see particularly equity-centered and trauma-informed approaches and bringing this into health, mental health, and public policy. And one of the ways we'll be doing that is with our textbook. I am co-author of the Financial Social Work textbook on micro, meso, and macro practice. It was launched, I think, May of this year. The launch is on the website. The video of the launch is, and you can see the textbook at financialsocialwork.com textbook. So what is financial social work? Well, it's a lot of things. And if you take a second to think about what you're seeing here, you can appreciate that the connection between money, mental health, our profession, politics, the economy, they all are intermingled. So they all need addressed through financial social work. It's holistic, behavioral. It's all of the components that we as professional helpers provide for our clients. And it is very comprehensive because it has to be. So you could undoubtedly each list these and many additional populations in need of financial social work. And if we had more time, I would ask you to, and if you want to, you can go ahead and put it in the question box, and Eric can read some of those later on. What do you think the symptoms of the need for financial help, financial social work might be? Because most clients don't come to professional helping asking for this type of service. However, you need to pay attention to clients who are coming with depression, eating disorders, self-medicating, certainly domestic violence. All of these are affected and resulting from financial problems like 72-month car loans, retirement unreadiness. There we have buy now, pay later. We have record high consumer debt in this country. It is higher than it has ever been. So I'm going to share with you a simple truth about this very, very complicated topic of money and financial health and wellness. And that truth is that while no one chooses to have money problems, most people do. And though our profession has been researching, assessing, and analyzing these very important issues, we have failed to provide students and practitioners with the materials to help clients. And that's where financial social work comes in, is the holistic method that goes beyond crisis intervention to foster lasting change. Social workers must address the money, mental, physical, emotional, and social connections in our clients' lives. It's critical. It really is. A staggering number of men and women are unable to meet the financial expectations currently being placed on them. They have more money than they have more months than money, more debt than assets, and definitely more financial problems than solutions. They need financial social workers who are knowledgeable and trustworthy to help them cope with their financial struggles. They need someone and somewhere to share the money secrets and questions they've been denying, hiding from, or avoiding most of their lives. They need financial social work. We have many tools, materials to help everyone struggling financially. And now Rod Griffin, our kind of honored speaker today, I am turning this over to you. All right, let me do that. Okay, Rod, take it away.
All right, let me. Fingers crossed that we'll make the connection.
I have confidence in you.
All right, can you see my slides?
Absolutely, it looks great.
Okay, great. Thank you, Rita. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you all for being here. It is an honor for me to be here and a pleasure. I hope to share some information today that will be helpful for you. A bit of my background, I'm officially my title Senior Director of Consumer Education and Advocacy for Experian. As you can see from my photo, I told Rita we needed to use my new photo. She had one from several years ago where I didn't have quite so much gray hair. So senior may just be in reference to how long I've been around. So I joined Experian in 1997. So I've been with the company a little more than 28 years. I think, Rita, we've known each other since almost the time that you started the Center for Financial Social Work.
That is exactly when I started this. That's really interesting.
Been around a long time.
I appreciate you sharing with our community so much.
So, and as I said, what I want to do today is talk about how things are changing in our world, in my world, in the world of credit reporting and credit scoring in particular, but also a bit about our company and how things are changing there, and touch on some things I think will be helpful. If I can get my slides to cooperate now, we'll be in good shape. There we go. So just a kind of quick agenda. I want to talk first about the business of Experian. It's not just credit reporting. I want to give you a sense of what we do, who we are, and beyond just credit reporting. And then I'll talk a bit about medical collections. I said here, they're going, oh wait, things changed again. Mortgage lending mayhem. There's been a seismic shift that's kind of rattling the foundations of mortgage lending, and particularly related to mortgage credit scoring for mortgage lending. I'll talk about BNPL. I'll talk about credit and cash, what we're looking at in terms of bringing not only credit but cash flow management to the equation. So getting both sides of the coin in the decision-making process. And I said, and then BNPL, Wild West just seems to get wilder all the time. I'll share a bit about Experian Boost and some new developments there. I think a lot of you probably are familiar with Experian Boost, and we continue to grow and improve that service for consumers. And then I'll share a new project that we just launched. We call it the Experian Credit Center. Was actually brought to life through a partnership with Home Free USA, but is available to everyone. It's free of charge, and it's about helping people have the knowledge they need to prepare to buy a house and prepare to submit a mortgage application. So I'm going to cover those things, and we'll do it pretty quickly. Start with the business of Experian. Most people think of Experian as a credit reporting company. That's where we touch their lives most often, and it's what we were for, and still are, as a significant part of our business for more than 100 years. But today, when you think about interacting with Experian, we have multiple businesses all related to information, B2B, so business to business, and direct to consumer. Our two largest functions are our consumer business. So if you go to Experian.com, you'll see Ask Experian, our credit advice column. You'll see our marketplaces for credit cards, for insurance. So today Experian's actually an insurance agency, and can help you find better insurance rates and help you, assist you as a consumer in saving money. So we want to help you there. We have a financial services business, kind of the biggest piece of our business. It's where our credit reporting lives. It's where we also do things like fraud prevention and recovery for a business, and we do the same for consumers, but help them manage credit, manage decisioning, and make sure that they're making sound, safe decisions so that they can have positive relationships with their customers, their members, and consumers, and ensure that they can offer the best terms and best rates to as many people as possible. But we also have multiple other business verticals, as we call them. We are a healthcare business in the sense that we have a healthcare information business that actually helps healthcare providers manage their cash flow. It's not really about consumer healthcare. It's not about your personal medical information. It's about how we help a hospital or a doctor's office manage their cash flow. As part of that, we do have a service that helps healthcare providers connect people who maybe are underinsured or don't have the financial means to pay for their healthcare costs, to find nonprofit funding or grant funding to help them cover their healthcare expenses. So kind of what I think is a really cool program service that we can offer healthcare providers to help people get the care they need when they may not be able to feel like they can afford it. We have an automotive history business. So we are the National Auto Dealers Association preferred auto history report called Auto Check. You can get that from Experian, and we are, my perspective and by feedback, better than that other one that you hear about all the time with the animal, that friendly looking animal mascot thing, but the one that's more well known. We've worked with businesses, dealerships, and auto lenders for decades. We are a media and technology company. We help organizations, businesses reach their customers and find new customers, retain existing customers, and provide better service, both in what we used to think of as direct mail but also in online services, on streaming services, all of those sorts of things to help them focus their offers. We hope to send you things that you want, not things that would be thought of as, we used to call it junk mail, things we didn't want. We want it to be, and want them to help make offers that are products and services you would be interested in buying. And so wouldn't be junk. It's something you want to think about. And then I didn't change the heading, and I messed up my last box, but we are also a platform and technology platform and software business, providing services in developing platforms that lenders can use and businesses can use online and in their industries to help them manage risk, to score organizations, data analytics, to help them provide online apps and portals to help them better service their customers. Developing AI is a big part of our business now related to financial services. So we're not just a credit reporting company anymore. And I think people, it's important to know that from a consumer perspective, we can help you with a wide range of financial services and help you save money. If you haven't seen our commercial lately, we have a commercial out that we want to be thought of as your BFF, not necessarily your best friend forever, but we want to be your big financial friend throughout your financial journey and provide you financial tools and resources that can benefit you over time and help you get the credit you need, save money on other tools, insurance, things like that. So more than just a credit bureau. It's kind of the important thing to understand about Experian. But most of what we talk about is related to credit, and so I want to update you on changes in the industry. It is perhaps the fastest changing environment I've seen in more than 2 decades, almost 3 decades with Experian in the credit reporting world and in the credit world. And I think for the better for the most part, but it's also sort of that riding the wave and trying to figure out if you're going to stay on the surfboard or fall off. We're not sure sometimes, trying to figure out how the tide is changing. One of those things is medical collections. There was at the end of the last administration, last December or early January, the CFPB finalized a rule that would have mandated removal of any medical collections that are remaining in credit reports. I think it's important to understand that we don't have just medical debts. They have to be in collections first before they come to your credit report. But they had a rule that would have removed them. In April, the CFPB, with the new administration, reversed its position, stating the rule exceeded its authority. And then a federal judge subsequently vacated that rule. So that means that there's no legal requirement at this point to remove remaining medical debt. What I will tell you is I'm not sure that still won't happen. Things therefore are where they've been. And over the last 2 to 3 years, we've made a number of changes with relation to medical debt. We've actually removed more than 70% of medical debts that were in credit reports. Today, medical debts will only appear, and I should say medical collections will only appear after they've been in collections for at least 12 months, usually more. We hold that collection so that it ensures that there aren't issues like billing errors or insurance disputes that cause it to be that. We want to make sure it's a legitimate medical collection before it comes to our systems. Scoring systems have also been revised to reduce the impact of medical collections on the score, so they're treated differently than medical collections. Once they're paid, they may be excluded and are excluded from most of the credit scoring systems that are currently in use by lenders and the latest systems, so they have less impact on lending decisions. Medical debt that is, as I said, paid is removed. It's no longer included in reports. We also exclude any medical debts that are less than $500. So it has to be, in order to appear in a credit report, the collection has to be at least a year old. It has to be greater than $500. And that, as a result, is remove most of them in the universe of credit reporting. That doesn't mean there still aren't a significant number of people with medical debts still appearing, but they are much smaller. Or much larger and more significant. We verified that they are debts. So any smaller debts have have been removed. So we're seeing some progress there. There's no indication that we will start reporting all of them again. I don't have any indication from anywhere in the industry that we're going to start reporting medical debts as we did in the past. I think this policy is going to remain. We may, in fact, remove the remainder at some point. I, again, have no positive information with that regard, but it's the way the industry's been moving. And in terms of scoring and other data, there may be things that are now more predictive that will supplant medical collections, and they may come off in the future. But again, I have nothing concrete to that effect, but that's certainly potential. Mortgage lending has also been very interesting lately. The way mortgages are reported in credit reports is not changing, but what has happened is that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, the government-sponsored entities, the GSEs that purchase mortgages on the secondary market, have changed their policies regarding credit scores that can be used to qualify loans for them. For the last, more than 20 years, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac specified that a FICO 2 score must be used for them to purchase a loan on the secondary market, which is what they do. So that effectively monopolized the score that was used in mortgage lending. So there was one score, FICO 2 score, that's been in use, as I said, for more than 20 years. The problem with that is that it's very old, and the algorithms used in scoring have modernized. They've become much more effective. The data that they can use is expanded, and FICO 2 has been stagnant. And so new information that's in reports has not blended well with that score, if you will. It hasn't worked well. And so the scoring industry has, for a number of years, advocated for them to change that policy and to create opportunities for competition in that market so that more consumers could potentially be able to qualify for a mortgage loan using newer scores. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, the agencies and heads of those organizations have now announced that they will accept FICO 10 and 10T, 10T being trended data. So they're looking at information over time, and VantageScore 4.0. That has caused quite a stir in the mortgage marketplace because they've become very accustomed to using a nearly 30-year-old credit score in their decisions. And so they're struggling a bit with that concept. Lenders are a bit off balance. They're pushing back somewhat. It will take some time to validate the new scores. They won't just be dropped in to the system tomorrow. The lenders are going to need to compare the performance of those new scores, which will replace FICO 2. FICO 2 will go away probably in the next 2 to 3 years. It's going to take some time for them, the lenders, to validate scores, make sure that they are performing as they expect them to, and we in fact think they will. It will also create competition that will force the two largest credit scoring developers to continue to modernize their scores, to improve the predictiveness of those scores. Competition is always a good thing, especially for the consumer, because it means those businesses will work harder for them to be a customer and for their customers to purchase their products. So I think this is going to be a good thing, but it will take a couple of years for those new scores to supplant FICO 2 and be replaced by the lenders. The challenge with FICO 2 has always been that it doesn't incorporate data that's new to credit reports, particularly things that are self-reported, like the information in Experian Boost that I'll talk about in just a few minutes. And as I said, it will create competition. We believe it will enable more consumers to qualify for loans because the scores will be better. The newer scores with new science behind them will be better at predicting risk. And so people who perhaps didn't qualify before will be able to, at least to some level. And so we think that's going to be good at opening up the mortgage marketplace, helping more people be able to purchase homes in the not too distant future. So we think it's a positive thing, but it right now is causing a bit of a stir. VantageScore in particular is trying to position itself and justify its inclusion and help lenders understand why it will be effective. It takes a different approach, but is proving highly predictive. And so I actually sat in on a webinar of VantageScores. They're making their case. So it's going to take a bit of time, but we think it's going to be a good thing in the end. Another new development just in the last couple of months with Experian in particular and VantageScore as well is that cash flow analysis is coming to the credit world in a bigger way. Experian recently announced a partnership with Plaid. Cash flow analysis, if you're not familiar with it, is looking at the transactions within checking accounts and savings accounts, primarily the way that you manage your demand deposit accounts. Are you maintaining balances? Are you reducing balances? Are you making deposits or withdrawals? Those sorts of things. It's referred to as cash flow analysis. And open banking is making it more possible to consider that kind of information in lending decisions. Lenders may be hesitant to extend credit to people who have what we call a thin file, fewer than 5 accounts or lower credit scores, particularly 680 below, for example, on a FICO 8 score. Nearly 20% of adults in the US don't have a conventional score, according to our research, but most do have a bank account. And so cash flow insights are going to help, we think, help them gain access to the system and be able to qualify where perhaps they couldn't before, or at least move in that direction. But we think it's an additive tool that's not standalone. We announced a cash flow score. So what we do now is we have a partnership with Plaid, and if a consumer is applying for a loan with a lender and their traditional credit score doesn't qualify them or they don't have one, they can have their lender access the Plaid data, which is cash flow analysis, and apply an Experian cash flow score to that information and perhaps help them qualify. It's very similar to a traditional credit score. It has a range of 300 to 850. It can be used for making decisions across all of the traditional kinds of things we think about: credit cards, personal loans, auto loans, and other kinds of debt transactions. So we think it's an exciting new development. It's important to understand that information is not becoming part of a credit report. It's a separate process. As I mentioned, we aren't just a credit bureau. So our cash flow score is developed by our decision analytics group, which is a scoring and data analytics division outside of our credit bureau. And they are working with Plaid and the score development. So that score will be used along with Plaid data from their database to help more people qualify when perhaps they couldn't. And because they didn't have a traditional credit history or very little traditional credit history, not because they're a bad risk. And that's what we're trying to figure out is how do we use more information to help more people qualify who perhaps don't have a traditional kind of credit history or have not had access to traditional kinds of credit in the past. We want to help more people be more financially successful and more financially healthy. And this is, we think, one of the ways to do that, to expand the information that's being used to qualify a person. And I should note that it's with the consumer's permission. So they have to give permission for the lender to access the Plaid data and then apply a cash flow score so that it gives the consumer control of that decision as well. We talked, and Rita mentioned buy now, pay later, certainly a very interesting part of the environment. Oh, and I should mention on the previous slide, VantageScore Plus is now also doing cash flow scoring. So there's competition in the marketplace between Experian and VantageScore as well, which is becoming quite interesting. So we're looking at that. Buy now, pay later is certainly an interesting part of the lending world. It is, as somebody mentioned, wish a layaway would come back. It's sort of the modern version of layaway. There's just no layaway part to it. You get a short-term loan, typically a pay-in-4 loan, and so make 4 payments and you own the product that you've already taken possession of. And it's a very unique. It doesn't fit just easily into our traditional credit market place and data reporting. You make the first payment at checkout, then you make 4 equal installments. That's what we call pay-in-4. There are multiple service providers that are providing the service. So you don't pay the store, you get the loan from the provider. Klarna is well known, Affirm is another, the number of others out there as well. The challenge with buy now, pay later is you could have, if you go to multiple stores in a day, you could take out multiple buy now, pay later loans. You could buy a pair of shoes, you might buy some clothes. You could go to a store and buy a grill, believe it or not. So larger, they're becoming larger loan amounts, no longer just $100 for a pair of shoes. It might be $1,000 for a very nice smoker, for example. I've seen just in some of the things I've looked at. You can use it for just about everything. The challenge is you could go to 3 different stores. They might all use the same provider, but you would have 3 different loans and you have to keep track of them and make sure that you're making 3 different payments, even though they might all be through the same buy now, pay later servicer. That can be a challenge. They might be from different servicers. So now you're using multiple servicers with multiple payments. That creates complications and makes it harder to manage your debts. And then the fact is that most people, if they have one buy now, pay later loan, they have more than one, they have multiple. And there's something called debt stacking that can happen. So they will have multiple loans, stack those debts. The challenge is that currently, or until recently, buy now, pay later loans were not reported at all to credit reporting companies or any other consumer database. And so they were not visible to the lender. And so a person, you think about, well, it's a $25 payment once a week for the next 4 weeks for a $100 item I purchased. That doesn't seem like a big deal. But if you have 10 of them, now you have $1,000 in debt. That becomes meaningful and can affect your ability to repay other debts. That's what lenders are trying to understand. Where does that fit into our risk management? How do we make sure that a consumer isn't over indebted, and how do we have visibility to those debts that could affect their ability to repay the loan they're applying for with me, for example? And so Experian has an arrangement with a firm, with one of the buy now, pay later providers. They are beginning to report information to us, but we're treating it very differently currently. The information right now is shown only to the consumer on their personal report. We're not sharing it at all with lenders yet. We want to make sure that it's working like it's supposed to, that people are aware of it. We want feedback on what they're seeing, and that it is being reported accurately, that all of the systems are working properly, and to make sure that we have enough information to be meaningful to report to lenders. And so we have to reach what we're thinking of as a critical mass. So the information right now would only show to you. When we reach a critical mass, the first thing that you will see that will be different will be that the inquiry for about buy now, pay later loan will be shared with the lender. We've traditionally thought of inquiries as being 2 different kinds. There's hard inquiries that are the result of your application for a new debt that doesn't show as an account in the credit report yet. So those inquiries could be shared with the lender because they represent an unknown new debt potentially. So it's an indicator of risk. They typically have a very small impact on scores, but they can affect scores and lending decisions. And then there were soft inquiries that are only shown to you on your personal credit report because they aren't necessarily indicative of a new debt. So things like getting your own credit report, reviews by existing lenders, pre-approved offers, in employment purposes, insurance purposes, things that only you really need to see, but you need to be aware of so you have a complete record. Buy now, pay later changes that. They are going to be what I'm describing as sort of a third type of inquiry that fit between the two. The inquiry will be shared with lenders at some point, but it will not be allowed to feed into credit scores. So the lenders will have visibility to the fact that there's a new buy now, pay later loan, but that buy now, pay later loan nor the inquiry will affect credit scores or lending decisions directly. So it won't affect scores at all. So they kind of slot between the two traditional kinds of inquiries. So we're trying to find the right balance. We're trying to understand how it will work. The other issue with buy now, pay later is that traditionally loans are over a period of months or years, and you make one payment a month, and that's what's been updated. With a buy now, pay later loan, part of the challenge is you could apply for that buy now, pay later loan, have it approved, you make 4 payments, and it's paid off and closed before the end of the first month. And so there's no payment history that necessarily would be reported in the way that previous 30-day kinds of payment structures were. And so we're trying to make sure that it's meaningful and working the way it should. The other interesting thing is that FICO has now announced a FICO score 10 buy now, pay later score. So they're going to score buy now, pay later loans. To be honest, I don't know how they're going to do that because it's not being reported anywhere yet, and we're not sharing it with scoring systems. So might be a little bit of cart before the horse, but they're already looking at that. So there will be scores that are designed specifically to incorporate buy now, pay later loans. There's already one that's being launched from FICO. So something to be aware of and know that it's coming. We don't know when, but if you have a firm a buy now, pay later loan from a firm, you may see that in your personal credit report from Experian when you get it. The others, a couple of others have come out recently and said they're not going to report to credit bureaus yet. And so that volume is still uncertain in terms of how it will grow. We think that will change over time, but we have to demonstrate at Experian and in our industry that they will be treated appropriately and that they will not inappropriately have an adverse effect on a consumer's ability to qualify for credit. It needs to be accurate, needs to be fair in the way that it's affecting lending decisions when that begins to happen. But it's not yet. So buy now, pay later, still kind of the Wild West. We're still trying to figure that one out. Fairly quickly, I want to talk about Experian Boost. We've made some changes. Most of you have heard about Boost. It's a tool that lets a person report positive information with their permission at no charge. It includes things like cell phone payments, utility payments, streaming services. We've now added rent payments, so positive rent payments. We work with about 1,500 of the largest property management companies in the country, as well as some online rent reporting organizations. So you may be able to have your positive rent payments reported. And we are now reporting insurance payments as part of Boost. You may be able to with that service. So we're expanding credit-like information. We're testing it very carefully, making sure that it does accurately represent improved risk and is meaningful and doesn't skew scores in a way that would be detrimental to risk management. And so what we're seeing now is that we see an average increase of about 13 points. We see for people with low credit scores or thin files closer to 19 points on average. There's been a boost of about 100 million points. So a lot of points have been added. About 500,000 people have added rent to their through Boost to their credit reports, and so we're seeing good response, and we're getting good feedback from consumers in helping them improve their credit history. So really excited about Boost and its continued success. We know that it will help. Did I miss one? No. Okay. That it's going to help about 26 million credit invisible consumers. We have about 20 million consumers who are between 18 and 23. I'll brag on my granddaughter. She just turned 18, graduated from high school, and told me that she has a 770 FICO score already. So she's listened to me along the way. So you don't have to be old to have good scores. You just have to do some smart things and manage your debts well. Personal information. She also recently broke up with a boyfriend because he didn't manage his finances like he needs to. So really proud of her. pretty tough little cookie, also very pretty and very capable. So if you have any sons who are managing their credit well, we might be able to set them up if they're in the Kansas area. So but really important in helping young people begin to access credit as well. And then I'll touch on one last thing that we just launched just a month or so ago. We have a program we call the Experian Credit Center. It's focused on mortgage lending. It's the first time we've had a tool that actually focuses on the FICO 2 score, because that's still the primary score in mortgage lending. It will be for quite a while yet. And so we have an educational resource. It's free. We want to help people get the information they need if they're planning to or want to, in the not too distant future, apply for a mortgage, have the knowledge they need to be able to be prepared to do so. And that's what the Credit Center is all about. The link is here. You go to homefree.experiancreditcenter.com/enrollment/1. It's the enrollment page. It's free to do. And no obligation. It's a 12-month program, so it's going to run through this time, well, through June of next year, 1st of July of next year. You get an Experian credit report, you get a FICO 2 score, there's a score tracker, there's a score simulator, there's a score planner, and so there are a lot of tools that can be used. There's a simulator that's really cool that lets you use slides to determine what steps you might take and what effect it will have on that score. It's also a full education program, so you'll learn how credit reporting works and scoring works as it relates to mortgages, and what you need to know to be able to take the right decisions. I mentioned the score planner. You set the score that you want to achieve, and then you can kind of play with it to see what's going to happen and what you need to do to improve that score so that you will be ready to apply for a mortgage. And then we share information with you as well with that planner and output on what you need to do and scenarios you can kind of play with to make sure that you reach a score. So it's a really kind of a fun tool, and it's a powerful tool, and that's just a piece of the puzzle. There's also a great deal of education resources and information there. So we're hoping people will sign up. Again, it's free. There's no obligation there. So if you're working with clients who are trying to get ready for a mortgage or just want to learn more about credit reports and scores, it can be a great tool for them to use. And then there are a number of other resources available, a couple of more changes or actually things that are staying the same. The centralized source for free reports. If you're getting a free credit report, the law says you can get a free report once every 12 months. By industry policy, across all of the national credit reporting companies, you can get a free credit report once a week from each of the three of them. So you can get 156 free credit reports a year. That's permanent. It's not going to change. And so the law sets a minimum. We are allowing people to have a report once a week. Don't know that you would need one that often, but you can get one. You can also find a number of educations on our website. You can go to annualcreditreport.com and of course get a free report once a week. You can go to Experian.com/consumer education. You'll find a lot of free education tools and resources there. And we have a cool flip book. I don't know why, but I think it's really cool when you go there. It makes page turning noises. I think that's just makes me smile every time I see it, but great information about fundamentals of credit reporting and credit scoring that everyone can use. And with that, I'll stop. And Rita, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you. Okay. I am going.
Find you.
I got it. Okay. So that I got it, Rod.
Got it? Good. All yours.
Thanks. Wow. So you can, if you see my screen, these people are very excited by all the information you shared with them. It was really great. And it's so interesting to me to watch how things have changed every August when you do this for us, which we so appreciate. So for a limited time, we are discounting all of our products by 15%. The promo code you can see is webinar 2025-08, and that's good through midnight this following Monday. And it includes our certification program. We have thousands of graduates across the country and internationally. And we have video courses. All of these trainings include CEUs, and you can find them on our website. We have a financial wellness magazine, a support group kit, and graphic money guides. We also have the Financial Social Work Collaborative. This is a group of 4 graduates who are so dedicated to the work of financial social work. They schedule several meetings every month for our students and graduates exclusively. They provide education, networking, resources, and support. And it's something that no other organization includes, but we do. I encourage all of you to read our newest ebook, A Social Work Guide for Circumventing Political and Economic Uncertainty. These are difficult times that we are going through, and all of our clients, micro, meso, macro, are also going through. So I wrote this ebook to provide you with some good skills and tools. We are ready for Q&A. Eric, has anyone asked a question in the question box?
Absolutely. There are some questions submitted during Rod's presentation, so let me kind of highlight some of those. My bank recently told me they were shifting to FICO 8. What is that in relation to FICO 2 and 10? And what is CreditWise score?
So FICO 8 is actually the most commonly used credit score among lenders today from FICO. It's been around for a number of years, and it's a standard credit score. FICO 10 and 10T are the newest scores from FICO. They're still being evaluated. They're not widely adopted yet. That's why I say even in mortgage lending, it's going to take some time for them to adopt them. When a new score comes out, it typically takes several years for lenders to evaluate them against the scores they were using before to make sure that they work like they need them to, and then to integrate them into their systems. So FICO 8 is the previous iteration of the FICO score. 10 and 10T are the newest. CreditWise is a Capital One branded program that provides a FICO 8 score to their customer.
Very good. Some kind of scanning the questions. There's a variety, lots of compliments on the presentation, so just want to share that. How about, do you offer any support for survivors of domestic violence for them to regain control of their credit?
Yeah, we work with a number of organizations that do provide services to survivors. In terms of access and with their report, there are things that we can do around, identifying or not, ensuring that things like addresses aren't visible, to ensure that their abuser can't find them. We can work with them on, monitoring programs, things like that can help them stay on top of their credit. And as I said, we work with several organizations that do provide services to victims of domestic abuse to help them in reestablishing credit, establishing credit on their own. I can't name any of those off the top of my head, but they can also freeze their credit file. I'm trying to lose my voice, and take steps to protect it. And so there are several things we can do to help them. And it's one of the most difficult things that we face, because it's extraordinarily sensitive.
Difficult on every level for everyone, those who experience it and those who try to help. That's good to know. It was a great question.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. How about this one? Can you please clarify the main difference between FICO and Vantage Score, and which do auto lenders use most?
Yeah. So FICO is a credit scoring company. Vantage Score is a competing credit scoring company. So to use the auto analogy, it's like FICO is like Ford and Vantage Score is like General Motors. They compete. FICO, one of the big myths around credit reporting is that Experian scores credit reports, or that we know what the algorithms are. We don't. FICO scores are called FICO scores because they're FICO's scores. They own the algorithms. They develop those scoring models. Lenders decide which scores they're going to use. And when we send them a report, they will apply a score, or we can route a report through a score they specify. We have about 230 or 250 different credit scoring models that we can route through. The scoring company like FICO gets paid for a score, and we get paid for the report in the service of routing, or we call applying it. But often we send it to the lender. They decide what score they're going to use, and then they apply it when they get the report, so we don't see scores at all. So FICO and Vantage Score are scoring companies. Vantage Score is their biggest competitor. In auto lending, there are industry-specific scores, and there is a FICO score specifically for auto lending. It's probably the most commonly used in auto lending, and something you might want to use if you have a bet with someone about who has the best credit score. A FICO auto lending score from FICO 8, and so they're within their algorithm, but it's a industry-specific score. So a FICO 8 automotive score goes to 900. So you could have a score higher than 850. But FICO is kind of predominant there. Vantage Score is growing in the lending world. Vantage Score actually is the dominant scoring company for non-lending. So things like cell phones, or your telecom relationships, utilities, those sorts of things. Vantage Score actually is more commonly used. Leasing, so apartment rental, leasing, those kinds of things. So they're very highly competitive, but just two different scoring companies.
That's great, thank you. Just a tad more on the domestic violence question. We had just kind of a follow-up. Is there maybe a place on the Experian website where they can go to learn more about the support offered from Experian?
Yeah, the best thing you can go do is go to experian.com/fraud, or search Experian, victims of domestic violence. We have, and I'm not sure when I last saw, I think we have what we call an Ask Experian response that talks about that issue as well and what they can do. But we don't list the organizations that we work with anywhere, for reasons of privacy. And so it's, but if you search Experian domestic violence, you can find out some things, maybe find out more detail that way. I can't remember when that was posted off the top of my head. We have lots and lots of Ask Experian content that's available for you.
That's great. How about this? I've heard that rent payments will now be included as part of credit score. Can you explain how that works? Is it self-reporting? Do landlords need to enroll? Rental payments would help a lot of clients build credit.
Yeah, so the way that works is, for Experian, for example, with Experian Boost, if you ask us to include your rent payments, what happens is those accounts, so with Experian Boost, and it works this way for other kinds of rent reporting and others, if you enroll in Experian Boost and you tell us, I want my cell phone payment to be added to my credit report, my water bill to be added to my credit report, and my rent payment to be added to my credit report, we will capture the payments that you make from the accounts that you tell us to check. So a savings account, checking account, credit card, and there will be 3 new accounts added to your credit report. Anytime a lender requests your credit report, those will be in the report just like a credit card account or an auto loan. And so they're part of the credit report. So if a score is used, the score, FICO 8, especially the newest ones, FICO 8, Vantage Score 4.0, FICO 10, all of the newest ones, they will see those as if they're just a regular account. So the scoring systems will incorporate them as payments for a debt. And so you don't have to do anything. They're not a separate sort of thing that a score, you have to tell them to add into a score. They're just part of the credit report as an account. So it makes things very simple, very smooth. It's also why mortgage lending in FICO 2 is problematic, is it didn't know how to react to that, so it would have a negative impact. So what we do is, if there are scores where we have information that shows that it would react incorrectly, we just don't include that information when it goes to those scoring systems, so they don't see it. Is the easiest way to explain it. It's more complicated than that, but it's, they basically, that we don't share those accounts with scoring systems that would respond inappropriately, because we don't want to have a negative effect on the consumer. But all of the newest scores, just see them as accounts, and that's the way it works. They report it, they're added as a payment account on your credit report.
Right. I'd like to point out to those who are still with us that I saw up close and personal how Boost can help, because I tried it at I didn't do it, but I had someone, well, I didn't ask them to, but someone at a conference went ahead and pulled up Boost, and it did increase their credit score. Yeah. So I'm a big supporter of Boost.
Well, thank you for that. I've seen the same thing in presentations I've done, and we give you a FICO 8 score. In fact, is the one that you get from us, and at the beginning of that process, and then again at the end, and you can see what the change is. And again, it's a permission based. So if you don't want to use it, you can tell us to stop, and we'll take those accounts off. So you control that.
Well, our time is out, and I want to thank you again, Rod, and so did all of our attendees. And I hope we'll get you back next month, everyone. We do a monthly webinar, and we hope to see you there next month. Thanks, and enjoy the rest of your day.